What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. Who's coming with me on my rescue mission to Tennessee to save Cam Ward? Because somebody has to get Cam Ward the hell out of Nashville. The Titans have already fired Brian Callahan 6 weeks into this season, which the firing was justified. Unfortunately, Cam Ward is now going to have his second head coach and only 6 starts in the league, which isn't good for a young quarterback's development. Then at the start of next year, he's going to be on his third head coach and only 2 years in the league. And Cam Ward, although he hasn't looked that good, I don't give him any blame at all for how much of a disaster the Titans have been this year. And his struggles aren't his fault. It's all on the Titans organization. And firing Brian Callahan, although it was the right decision, there's more to take away from this firing that we're going to dive into. There's something that we all know about the Kansas City Chiefs that we don't want to admit. With all of the injuries that the Ravens and the Bills have sustained, especially on the defense side of the football, both of those two teams were viewed as the front runners to make it out of the AFC along with Kansas City. It looks like this is going to be another year that the Chiefs win the AFC and make it out of this conference and end up playing for the Lombardi Trophy. I got a few reasons to why this is the case. Justin Fields, everybody keeps saying that he needs more time. He needs to be in a better situation. What if we have already seen Justin Fields at his peak? What if the Justin Fields that we see right now just is who he is? The Falcons and the Panthers have come alive as of late, and they've made the NFC South really interesting. We'll dive into that as well, along with the struggles that the Broncos and the Eagles are dealing with. Despite being 4-2, there are some really alarming issues that these two ball clubs have that can quickly derail their fast starts to the season. If you live, eat, breathe, and sleep football, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop new content. If you don't want your favorite team to look like how Tennessee has these first 6 weeks, rate us 5 stars, JT Sports. We're available on Apple, Spotify, all podcasting platforms. You can find the links in the description and pinned comment down below. And let's dive into it. Cam Ward has to get the fuck out of Nashville. Excuse my French, but that's the God honest truth. The Tennessee Titans are doing everything humanly possible to guarantee that Cam Ward ends up being a bust. You fired Brian Callahan only 6 games into Cam Ward's career. He already is on his second head coach. Now, the firing of Brian Callahan, it was definitely justified. But it wasn't Brian Callahan's fault that the team was as bad as what it was under him. He never should have gotten this job to begin with. He was in over his head. The impact that he had on Joe Burrow's development during his time in Cincinnati was greatly overstated. He never called plays. He didn't really do that much. He ends up getting this head coaching opportunity, being a first-time head coach, along with being a first-time play caller, which all signs point to Brian Callahan failing, even though the Titans ownership was really confident and the vision that he had for this team, his plans for turning this franchise around. But Brian Callahan wasn't done any favors when they fired the general manager who hired him after only 1 season being the GM. So now you have a team that's going to be on their third head coach in 3 years, that also is on their second GM in 2 years. And we expect for Cam Ward to reach his potential in this crapshoot. The front office instability of the Tennessee Titans is going to make Cam Ward a bust. You have a Looney Tunes owner who fired one of the best coaches that the Titans have had in a very long time in Mike Vrabel because he wasn't nice to her. And now she's going to end up hiring another head coach who's going to be the second one that Cam Ward is going to have. He's going to have to learn a new system, get accustomed to new play calling, and you're going to further set him back in his development. If the Titans can't put together a good front office and a good coaching staff, how can they be trusted to put together a good enough supporting cast for Cam Ward to have success? Cam Ward has the worst supporting cast out of any quarterback in the National Football League. You have Calvin Ridley as your best receiver, who is the biggest waste of talent that the NFL has ever seen at receiver. Calvin Ridley has everything that you look for in a top 5 receiver. Great route runner, great release packages, creates a lot of separation on his routes, has good ball control. Unfortunately, his talent doesn't match his on-the-field production, and he's scamming the Tennessee Titans. He's one of the more higher-paid receivers in the league, despite not being a superstar, and yet he's nowhere to be found on most occasions. When you have a young rookie quarterback and a veteran receiver like Calvin Ridley, he's supposed to be his security blanket. So tell me why Alec Ironmaner has been the only receiver that Cam Ward can trust. You also have an offensive line that's one of the worst in the league, despite this unit supposed to be a strength entering this season because Brian Callahan hired his dad to be the offensive line coach. And his dad had the label of a legendary offensive line coach. Well, where is the legendary coaching? Because I don't see it on this offensive line. Every week, Cam Ward is running for his career. The Titans cannot be trusted to properly develop Cam Ward, nor can they be trusted that they can put a good enough team around Cam Ward for him to thrive. Cam Ward needs to demand the trade away from the Tennessee Titans expeditiously. The Steelers, the Raiders, the Rams will be more than willing to give away a first-round pick in order to get Cam Ward, and his trade value is still sky high. And if Cam Ward waits any longer to get out of Nashville, he's going to hurt his trade value, and he's going to end up being damaged goods and viewed like how Zach Wilson currently is. Nothing better than a backup quarterback, which is far from the case. Cam Ward deserves no blame for how bad he has played and how bad the Titans have been, because this front office has compromised him. Cam Ward single-handedly resurrected the U. If you can bring back Miami football, you're good enough to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL if you're given a fair opportunity. A lot of these quarterbacks don't fail in the league because they're not good enough. They fail because the situation that they go to fails them. And the Tennessee Titans are failing Cam Ward in the worst way possible. He's about to have his third head coach at the start of next year and only his second season in the league. He has a general manager that has only been there for a cup of coffee, replacing a guy who was only there for 1 year. When you have an owner that's making rapid staff changes every single offseason, how are you ever going to be able to develop? How are you ever going to get comfortable? How are you ever going to be able to find your footing in the NFL when there's always changes happening on the top above you? And it all starts at the top. And the instability that the Titans owner has as far as her emotions affecting her judgment when it comes to making personnel decisions, when it comes to hiring coaches, is what's going to doom Tennessee. And I'm not really somebody that says that women shouldn't be in power, but she shouldn't be running this team. She is not qualified to be an owner in the NFL. She just doesn't have an understanding of how to run a successful franchise. And it's going to lead to Cam Ward's downfall. And I love Cam Ward. I am a Cam Ward truther. And I've watched every single start of Cam Ward. I've watched every single Titans game this year, supporting my boy, supporting my favorite player to ever play for the Miami Hurricanes. And I can't even watch a full game because I'm disgusted at the atrocity that Cam Ward has to overcome. And yeah, you got Warren Moon getting mad at him for calling the team mid, calling the team ass, saying he needs to carry himself better as a franchise quarterback. No, F that. The situation that Cam Ward has been in, he's perfectly described it. It's been ass. It's been mid. There's no nicer way to say it. And yes, Cam Ward has a right to be frustrated. Everywhere Cam Ward has gone, he's dominated. He hasn't struggled. So this is the first time in Cam Ward's career he has faced real scrutiny. He's faced real adversity. And a lot of it is out of his control because the parts around him just aren't doing their jobs. Follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram at JT_, on X at JT__. TikTok, you can find us at JT__ as well. So you can stay up to date with everything that's going on with the JT Sports Podcast, along with updates and bonus content as well. Go ahead, follow us on Instagram and X. Links are down in the description and pinned comment section below. We all know, but don't want to admit it, that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again this year. All this offseason, the media was wrongly predicting the downfall of the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you remember when Colin Cowherd's co-host Jason McIntyre said that the Chiefs weren't even going to make it to the playoffs? The Broncos and the Chargers were going to be better. Well, 6 weeks into this season, the Chargers are down their two top offensive tackles, several key players on defense, and their first-round pick. Then you got a Broncos team that has an offense that is completely incompetent. The Chiefs are going to win the AFC West for the 10th straight year in a row. And they also are going to make it to their 10th straight AFC championship. Because remember, the Bills, the Ravens, somebody else was going to be able to knock off Kansas City and keep them from making it one game shot of the Super Bowl. Well, with all of the injuries that the Bills and the Ravens have had, they're not going to be healthy enough to stop Kansas City. Kansas City has dodged the injury bug. The injury bug has gotten 95% of the league, but the Kansas City Chiefs, as a matter of fact, they get Rashee Rice coming back off of suspension. And the way that they're talking about Rashee Rice coming back, you would have thought that he's about to be the final Infinity Stone to complete the Infinity Gauntlet, because the Chiefs truly believe that this is the best team that they've had in a very long time, which is why they feel so confident that they're going to be able to win the Super Bowl this year. The last 3 years were the worst that we will ever see the Chiefs be with Mahomes at quarterback for the remainder of his career. They were unable to get elite receivers. They were unable to get the explosive passing game going like how it was when they still had Tyreek Hill, and it took them a while to get that explosiveness back. Well, you see that now with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, and you incorporate Rashee Rice into the mix along with Travis Kelce, who, although his best years are behind him, still shows up in big games and big moments. And you also are giving Patrick Mahomes the best offensive line that he has had over the last 4 years. And the defense with Steve Spagnuolo is still fantastic. The Chiefs aren't going anywhere. We once again wrongly predicted the downfall of the Kansas City Chiefs. There is nothing stopping Kansas City from winning the Super Bowl this year. The two teams who we all felt had the best chance to knock off Kansas City have been ravished with injuries. The Bills' defense has been decimated with injuries. The Ravens have been decimated with injuries before the season even started, and they might not even make it to the playoffs. They might not even have a shot at being able to stop Kansas City. So if the Bills and the Ravens don't have a shot at stopping Kansas City in the playoffs this year, who does? Because It's definitely not the Colts and Daniel Jones. It's definitely not going to be Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. Beating Kansas City in the regular season is one thing. Beating them with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line is a completely different animal. The team that has the best shot at keeping the Chiefs from making it out of the AFC for the 10th straight year are the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been fairly healthy. They've received really phenomenal quarterback play out of Aaron Rodgers, and we know that Mike Tomlin is a good enough head coach that he can get right with Andy Reid when it comes to the coaching department. He's won a Super Bowl before. He's been to two of them. The only thing that has kept the Steelers from having postseason success as of late has been the lack of consistency that they've received out of quarterback. Now Aaron Rodgers is going to give you top 12 or better quarterback play walking into the playoffs, and with the defense playing the way that it has, there's an opportunity that the Steelers could take advantage of. With all of the injuries that have bugabooed and plagued the AFC, they have probably the easiest path that Mike Tomlin might ever get when it comes to making it to the AFC and being one game shy of making it to the Super Bowl. And with a great defense and a quarterback that takes care of the football, there's a very strong chance that we could see Pittsburgh knock off Kansas City, win the AFC, and make it to the Super Bowl. And I don't think it's far-fetched. But right now, the Chiefs have a golden path to another Super Bowl. This may be the easiest path to Super Bowl that the Chiefs have had over the past decade. Because the Chargers, with how battered they are with injuries, they're not going to stop you from winning the AFC West. The Broncos offense is just too incompetent to stop you from winning this division. And the Ravens and Bills, injuries and disappointing defense is going to keep them out of contention. There really is nobody in the AFC that you can hang your hat on right now and say, yeah, I will bet all the money that I currently have in my savings account can beat Kansas City, can stop Kansas City from making it to the AFC Championship, can keep Kansas City out of the Super Bowl. I just don't see it happening. If you don't want the starting quarterback for your favorite football team to play like Anthony Richardson, give JT Sports a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, JT Sports is available. The links are down in the description and pinned comment below. Justin Fields has been in the NFL for 5 seasons, and there's this sentiment that Justin Fields still hasn't reached his potential. We have yet to see the best of Justin Fields due to him not being in a situation good enough for him to truly reach his ceiling. He's been with the Chicago Bears, who had a lot of dysfunction. They had a lot of coaching turnover. Then he goes to Pittsburgh. He starts for a few games, and he plays his best football ever with the Steelers. Then he gets benched in favor of Russell Wilson, and although I disagree with that decision, it ended up being the right decision. Justin Fields ends up leaving the Steelers for the Jets in free agency, and Justin Fields, believe it or not, was the Steelers' #1 quarterback target. They wanted him back more than they wanted Aaron Rodgers. And now with Justin Fields being on the Jets and struggling, we have a fair assessment of what Justin Fields is as a quarterback. Justin Fields is not a dual threat quarterback. He is a pure running quarterback. Justin Fields is what everybody thought Lamar would be when he was coming out of college. A phenomenal athlete, but a below average passer. Justin Fields is one of the best athletes that the league has seen play the quarterback position. He's 6'3", 225 pounds, runs the football like a running back. When Justin Fields gets into the open field, you better watch the hell out, because he's going to run you the hell over, or he's going to put a move on you. Nobody's denying the elite athlete that Justin Fields is. But with how bad he is throwing the football, he is Cordell Stewart 2.0. Now, if you are an OG fan of the league, you know who Slash Stewart was. Slash Stewart had a few decent seasons with the Steelers. He was known for being a really good running quarterback during this era. Had a few okay seasons passing, but he just wasn't good enough to get the Steelers to a Super Bowl. Justin Fields, in the right situation, can be good enough to have success with the franchise that believes in him, that gives him a good supporting cast with a really good play caller. He can lead you to the playoffs, but you will never win a Super Bowl with Justin Fields, because even at his best, he still won't be good enough as a passer to lead you to the promised land. At his best, he'll be a slightly above average passer in the right situation. And with the New York Jets, look, the Jets are misusing Justin Fields. They don't know how the hell to utilize his ability. When you have a quarterback that sucks throwing the football, but is a very phenomenal runner, it will be smart to build the offense around his running ability. But the Jets have not done that. The Jets don't know how the hell to utilize Justin Fields, and the Jets don't know how to put Justin Fields in situations to succeed, because they are plugging him into this offense where they're asking him to be something that he's not, which is a drop back quarterback. There's no reason why Justin Fields should have been dropping back the amount that he did against the Denver Broncos. Justin Fields is averaging 7 carries per game. That's inexcusable. The Jets should be using more RPOs, more read options, more designed quarterback runs, but instead, they keep trying to force Justin Fields to be something that he would never be, which is a competent thrower of the football. He just doesn't see guys when they're open. He's scared to throw checkdowns to guys running drags and 5-yard slants. And he's even more gun-shy at throwing the football downfield. It's like the Steelers turned him into a check-down machine, and now he's trying to play the game not to lose instead of trying to play the game to win. Justin Fields was much better when he was playing for the Chicago Bears in his second season when he was in MVP contention. Unfortunately, ever since then, he stagnated. He hasn't grown. He hasn't developed. And yes, you can say that he hasn't been in good situations, but the guy is 0-26 as a starting quarterback when the opposition has scored 22 points or more. And when you have a record that mind-boggling, that bad, it's an indicator that although you're not all of the problem, you are part of the problem for the teams that you are on. Justin Fields is in a situation that the New York Jets don't know how to get the best out of him. They're asking him to be a drop back passer, which he doesn't have the ability to do at a high level. He's only running the ball 7 times a game on average, which is something that you can't do when you have a quarterback this gifted running the football. No RPOs, no read options, no QB runs, no creativity with the play calling. Just straight drop back and let's set Justin Fields up for failure is what Aaron Glenn and the Jets coaching staff have done. And although Justin Fields does need to be held accountable for how bad he's been playing over these last couple of weeks, because the stats are a lie. They say women lie, numbers don't lie. That's one of the biggest myths in the world, because when you look at the statistics, they will show you Justin Fields is playing efficient football. But if you actually watch the game, and I'm not talking about how he played against the Denver Broncos, I give him some grace for that game because the Broncos have arguably the best defense in the NFL. The Denver Crush is what they call it, or the Orange Crush. However, whatever they use to describe that defense, you knew the Jets were going to have a rough afternoon against that Broncos front, against that Broncos secondary. But the Monday night game that Justin Fields played a few weeks ago against the Miami Dolphins is what gave me the epiphany that we've seen Justin Fields reach his potential. He will never be a dual threat quarterback. He will always be a running quarterback. Justin Fields has reached the peak of development for what you see out of a pure running quarterback. He'll be a slightly above average passer at times, but on most occasions, he's below average to average in that department. He's a guy that if you're going to win games with, you got to run him like he's a running back. You got to give Justin Fields 15 to 20 carries a game. Because if not, then your offense is going to be stagnant. He is not a quarterback that you just say, we're going to plug and play you into this offense. No, and you get Justin Fields, you have to redesign your offense around him because he's so limited as a passer. You can only ask him to throw so many times. You can only ask him to run certain concepts to a certain degree that he understands that are easy for him to find the open guy. You have to scheme guys open. Sean McVay would be the perfect coach for a guy like Justin Fields because you need an offensive wizard to truly get the best out of him, because the average offensive coordinator isn't going to be able to have success with Justin Fields when he can't routinely drop back and hit guys with accuracy routinely. He can't throw guys open. He doesn't throw with good anticipation, and he doesn't understand defenses. He can't check out of certain formations when the defense is in certain fronts. He can't audible to certain run plays to get a lot of blocks for the running back to throw the ball. Justin Fields just is not a good dual threat QB. He's not a dual threat QB. That's a huge misconception. He is a running quarterback, and I believe that we've seen the best of Justin Fields. This is his peak. This is just what you get with Justin Fields. You're going to have games when he explodes for 150 yards on the ground, has like 220 passing yards with 3 touchdowns, maybe 1 interception. That's the best of Justin Fields. What you get out of Justin Fields on a week-to-week basis is a guy that is a better runner than he is a passer. And if you're not prioritizing running the football first, you're going to be in major trouble like what the Jets are right now. And I don't put all of this on Justin Fields. I put this on Aaron Glenn and the staff, overpaying for a guy that didn't really have that huge of a market. And you give him a first-time offensive coordinator, learning on the job, and he's tasked with trying to have a successful offense when he doesn't have the fundamental part of having a competent offense, which is the ability to throw the football, because Justin Fields can't do it at a high enough level, and that's why the Jets have the record that they have. If your quarterback can't throw the football, and they always say it's a passing league, and he's a better runner than he is a thrower, you're going to get the results that you've seen so far out of Justin. A lot of volatile play, throwing the ball, a bunch of turnovers, a lot of 3 and outs, a lot of inconsistency on offense. If Justin Fields ends up shaking back on another team, it'll be one that has an offensive-centric coach and one that actually knows how to build a scheme around a true running quarterback, which is what Justin Fields is. We need to stop calling him a dual threat. He's not a dual threat. Being a dual threat means you can run and pass. Justin Fields can just run. He can't throw. And I love Justin Fields. He run me $2,000 in my fantasy league 4 years ago. I believe in 2022. And he's a good fantasy quarterback. Colin Cowherd said it perfectly. He's a good YouTube quarterback. If you showed a casual football fan some Justin Fields highlights, they'll probably believe he's a top 5 quarterback. And I'll be right along with them. And if you look at the stats, you would see, yeah, Justin Fields looks pretty decent. Not his fault the Jets suck. But if you watch the entirety of these Jets games and you see the throws that Justin Fields leaves on the field that he's scared to make, 3rd and 5, you got guys running wide open on drags and slants, and Justin Fields just doesn't see them. Just when it looked like the Buccaneers were going to run away with the NFC South, the Falcons and the Panthers decided that they wanted to come alive, and they have made this division very interesting now. Now, the Buccaneers are still in first place at 5-1, but they've been ramsacked by injuries, like the majority of the league has. They're down their top 3 receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, their outstanding rookie wide receiver that they drafted in the first round. He's going to miss a few weeks. Bucky Irving, their star running back, he's out. Nobody knows when he's returning. They're down 2 starters on the offensive line, a few guys on defense. This division could be up for grabs once again with the emergence of the Falcons and the Panthers, with the Buccaneers suffering the injury bug that has ramsacked the league, plus with the tough 5-game stretch that they have coming up. Monday night against Detroit, the Saints, the Patriots, back-to-back road games against the Bills and the Rams. The Buccaneers could easily drop 4 out of their next 5, and they could be 6-5 going into week 11. And the second outing between the Panthers and the Falcons could decide who ends up taking first place in this division. Now, the Panthers and the Falcons, they both have phenomenal rushing attacks. They both are top 5 in rushing yards per game, and their running offense is carrying very questionable quarterback play. Michael Penix, I still believe that he's going to be a good quarterback, but this season, he still has a lot of growing pains that he's going to have to overcome. And that's why putting the ball on the ground in the hands of Bijan Robinson is the best route for the Falcons to have success this year. Same thing with the Carolina Panthers. Look, my stance on Bryce Young has not changed. I was one of the biggest Bryce Young supporters in the world, and he's burnt me so bad that even with him playing slightly better over these last couple of weeks, I'm still not sold. Because Bryce Young isn't winning games for the Carolina Panthers. Rico Dowdle is winning games for the Carolina Panthers. This dude is averaging a first down every 2 touches. They ran this brother 40 times last week. Are you kidding me? I thought that Rico Dowdle was going to die against the Dallas Cowboys. The way that the Panthers were running this brother into the dirt, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten injured yet. He's had a few cramps here and there between these games, but it's like, what do you expect? You're running the dude like it's 1970, 1980s, and you got Jim Brown, Walter Payton back there. But can you blame the Carolina Panthers? I mean, Rico Dowdle has single-handedly made the Carolina Panthers watchable again. Before his arrival, before his emergence, there was no reason to turn on the Panthers game because they were struggling to get the ball past the 50, and Bryce Young just wasn't good. But now with Rico Dowdle looking like the second coming of Barry Sanders and Walter Payton put together, the Panthers offense looks pretty decent now. They got some good receivers. We all know about T-Mac. But how about Jimmy Horn Jr., who has started to carve out a role on this Carolina Panthers offense? What about Xavier Legette? You know, I haven't really heard his name that much, but he's had a few plays where he's shown a little bit of some flashes here and there. So there's a good amount of depth on this Panthers team when it comes to the weapons that Bryce Young is throwing to at receiver. Their offensive line is playing pretty good despite being down a few guys with some injuries, and they get those guys back fully healthy. Now, the defense of Carolina still hasn't improved all that much, but last year they couldn't stop anything. This year, they can stop the run. They're top 10 in rushing yards per game allowed. Their pass defense still isn't good. But, I mean, beggars can't be choosers. At least you can stop something. And the Atlanta Falcons, how about their defense? The Atlanta Falcons defense, oh, my goodness, boy. Them Dirty Birds is flying. Jeff Ulbrich, I forgive you for that prank call on Shedeur Sanders because this defense is playing out of this world with a lot of rookies. Xavier Watts, James Pierce, Jalen Walker, Billy Bowman. The list goes on and on. Everybody on this Falcons defense is balling out under Jeff Ulbrich. I mean, they were getting after Josh Allen. They were on his ass like white on rice. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't think the Falcons had a chance in hell at winning that game. As a matter of fact, I was finna bet the house on Buffalo. And then I was talking to a bunch of my homies. They were saying, nah, JT, you tripping. Like, the Bills ain't what you think they are. And boy, were they right. Because the Bills definitely is not what I thought they were. But the Falcons, on the other hand, though, they're not what I thought they were either. I thought that Raheem Morris, after they got blown out by the Carolina Panthers, should have been fired. I'm going to be honest. And I'm still not a huge believer in Raheem Morris, but I'm a huge believer in Michael Penix and Bijan Robinson. And as long as the Falcons keep giving that rock to Bijan Robinson and this defense keeps playing lights out like it has these last couple of weeks under Jeff Ulbrich, I can easily see a world where the Falcons end up winning the NFC South. The Buccaneers' schedule is really tough coming up. They're playing several playoff teams, down several of their best players. And although Baker Mayfield is playing out of his freaking mind right now, playing like an MVP candidate, eventually these injuries are going to be too much for the Buccaneers to overcome. And one man's misfortune, one team's misfortune is another team's opportunity, and that's how the Falcons can end up backdooring their way to an NFC South title. The Carolina Panthers, I'm not as high on them as what I am the Falcons, but you get Chuba Hubbard back. And you see how much of a monster Rico Dowdle has been, but Chuba Hubbard's a monster too. So you can have arguably the best 1-2 punch in the NFL, not named Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So with this ground game that the Panthers have, who cares if Bryce Young is good or not? When you can just run the rock 40, 50 times a game. Now you don't have to run Rico Dowdle 40, 50 times per contest. Now you can run him 25 times a game and Chuba Hubbard 25 times a game. I think the game plan for the Falcons and the Panthers moving forward is pretty freaking simple. Keep running that damn football because nobody can stop it. Sean Payton embarrassed himself this past weekend against the New York Jets with how atrocious Aaron Glenn's clock management was in the first half of that game, especially before halftime. Sean Payton should have been embarrassed that the Broncos weren't blowing out the New York Jets. When they were interviewing him at halftime, I was shocked that he didn't say, yeah, like, we should be blowing this team out because the Jets aren't good and we're kicking ourselves in the foot with my atrocious play calling. Did you know that Sean Payton called a fullback dive on 3rd and 10 during this game? Yes, Sean Payton, one of the greatest offensive minds in the history of this league, on 3rd and 10, called a fullback dive. He's losing it. When you watch the Broncos play, they only have 4 plays in their offensive playbook. Either a gadget play, a screen pass, or short passes mixed in with the run. That's it. That is the entirety of the Broncos playbook. The Broncos are running a 10-yard offense. They don't do anything past 15 yards or more. They don't push the football downfield vertically. It seems as if Sean Payton doesn't have a lot of faith in Bo Nix because he doesn't seem like he trusts him a lot. And Sean Payton's issue is he keeps trying to force Bo Nix to fit into his system instead of adapting his system around Bo Nix. Bo Nix is not 2020 Drew Brees. He can throw the ball past 10 yards, Sean Payton, and allow him to do so. I don't buy this crap that the Broncos don't have enough talent at receiver. How about you give Pat Bryant some more touches, Sean Payton? Pat Bryant, every time I watch the Broncos play, he's wide open. Every time he's in, but for some reason, he's not getting more opportunities. If the Broncos got Pat Bryant more involved in the offense, Broncos fans will feel much better about their receiving core than what they currently do right now. Sean Payton, it's the reason why Bo Nix is having a sophomore slump. Bo Nix's play has regressed because Sean Payton has regressed as a play caller. When all you're running is gadget plays, spamming short passes, and endless screens, yeah, your second-year quarterback is going to regress because the defense doesn't have to worry about anything but just playing what's in front of them, playing 5-10 yards, because that's all the Broncos offense consists of. They don't force the defense to have to fear them pushing the ball downfield so they can play up close, so they can focus and key in on those slants, those curls, those hitches that Sean Payton loves to abuse. Sean Payton needs to give up the play calling. He's out of touch and he's outdated. Sean Payton's offense doesn't work anymore in the NFL. When your offense is 26 in yards per pass, despite being 9th in pass attempts per game, that's an indictment on the play caller. It's not an indictment on Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a really good athlete. But yeah, Sean Payton doesn't utilize that mobility a lot. You don't see a lot of read options, a lot of RPOs. Like, the main reason why I was high on Bo Nix and why I believed he would succeed with the Broncos is due to the play calling of Sean Payton. But Sean Payton's play calling lacks creativity. It lacks modernization. You have what you believe to be the modern version of Drew Brees, but yet you're not building upon his skill set. You're not finding different ways to find a way to showcase his talent. You're just finding different ways that handicap him. And what Sean Payton has done is handicap Bo Nix development. There's only so much Bo Nix can do when Sean Payton just is scared to push the football more than 10, 15 yards downfield. And even if you do trade for a running back or a receiver, it still isn't going to solve the root of the issue, which is Sean Payton's play calling. The players are only as good as the guy calling the plays, because the guy calling the plays puts the players in position to make plays. And Sean Payton isn't putting these Broncos players on offense in positions to make plays. This would be a much better offense if Davis Webb or somebody else on that Broncos offensive staff was in charge of the play calling. Sean Payton, I love him, but his offense is stale, it's outdated, and even though you're 4-2, you're 4-2 because you've had a defense that has carried you. Eventually, with how incompetent Sean Payton's offense has been, if this continues, you're going to wear down your defense, and once you get into late November, early December, when you really have to play your best football to make a playoff push, that's when you're going to start seeing this great Broncos defense start to get crushed, because you're going to be on the field for too many plays. You're going to get gassed a lot faster, and the dam is going to break. If you ever get bored during the middle of the day and you're trying to talk some football, join the JT Sports Discord server, man. Link is down in the description and pinned comment below. We're trying to talk some ball with you, man. We want to hear from you. Go ahead and join the JT Sports Discord server. All the links are in the description and pinned comment section below. On my Instagram story a few days ago, I posted that the Steelers were going to win the Super Bowl this year. And it's this shorty that I've been talking to for the last couple of weeks that happens to be an Eagles fan that said that I don't know about that. And I was like, okay, if the Steelers aren't going to win the Super Bowl, then who is? She said the Chiefs, the Bills, the Packers, and still my team, the Eagles. And I had to be honest with her. I was like, listen, I like you a lot, but I got to tell you the truth. The Eagles are done. D-O-N-E, done. The Eagles are not going back to Super Bowl this year. And it's hard to gain the dynasty label if you're unable to maintain the core components to what has made you a dominant team in the past. The Patriots and the Chiefs, why they've been able to become dynasties is, for one, they're able to maintain the core components on the coaching staff. They're able to maintain their OC and their defensive coordinators because those guys have already been failed head coaches. So you don't have to worry about Steve Spagnuolo or Matt Nagy leaving for head coaching jobs because they already been there, done that. And nobody's looking to make those guys head coaches again. So as coordinators, you never have to worry about losing them if you're Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So you keep the camaraderie going. for the New England Patriots, Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia were Bill Belichick's left and right-hand men. Every time the Patriots were in contention to win it all, they were on the staff. And when they weren't there. And when Josh McDaniels left New England for the Raiders head coaching job, that ended up being the demise of Bill Belichick. When the Eagles lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon in 2022, after they lost to the Chiefs in that Super Bowl that year, they fell off in 23 because their head coach whiffed on his coordinator hirings. And I do believe that Nick Sirianni is a really good coach. I think he's a really good CEO coach. He's a really good hype man, gets the players ready to play, and the guys seem to like him. But with him being a CEO coach, the team's success is heavily going to be dependent on the guys he brings in as his coordinators. And it's hard to continue to nail your coordinator hires year after year after year. It's already tough enough as it is to make one good coordinator hire. So to make two of them is even more difficult. So in 23, the Eagles end up falling off after they started 10-1 because the offense just completely was discombobulated along with the defense. So you end up bringing in Vic Fangio and you end up hiring Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator. And Kellen Moore is now the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And Vic Fangio is still there. And Vic Fangio still is a really good defensive coordinator. But the defense hasn't been as good as what it was last year. And the offense has taken a step back with their new offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, being the scapegoat for Jalen Hurts' mediocre play. And Kevin Patullo is getting all the blame from Philadelphia Eagles fans for the shortcomings of the Eagles offense this year, when really they're just using him as a scapegoat to make excuses for Jalen Hurts' mediocre play. Eagles fans love to talk about Jalen Hurts being a Super Bowl MVP and how he's a quote-quote top 5 quarterback, but yet your Super Bowl MVP, your quote-quote top 5 quarterback, got outplayed by a rookie quarterback making his third start on a short week who was throwing to Wan'Dale Robinson and LaJordan Humphrey. Meanwhile, your Super Bowl MVP, your quote-quote top 5 quarterback, is overthrowing a wide-open Devontae Smith, throwing pick sixes, trying to throw out routes to Jahan Dotson with a flat corner when you had a wide-open A.J. Brown for a touchdown. But Jalen Hurts didn't see him. Kevin Patullo isn't the one overthrowing wide-open receivers. He's not the one who's only completing 35% of his passes, throwing the ball 10 yards or more to receivers. Kevin Patullo is only calling the plays. He's not the dude going out there and missing all these wide open receivers. But Eagles fans don't want to admit that Jalen Hurts is part of the problem for why this team has struggled. There's a reason why A.J. Brown has been disgruntled, and it's not because he's a drama queen. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts don't like each other. That's been publicly known, and it's been well stated. So why are these guys still on the same team as each other? Somebody has to go. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts cannot coexist. A.J. Brown, he got his bag, he got his ring, and now he wants his numbers. So therefore, trade him away and let him go get those numbers. You can't continue to be a championship team when you have guys that have a me before the team mentality like how A.J. Brown does. And keeping A.J. Brown around doesn't do anything but complicate things for Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown is a big personality and he's very vocal. And with everything that he has said to the media, it shows that he doesn't want to play for the Philadelphia Eagles no more because he knows that Jalen Hurts is a mid quarterback. Receivers are happy when the quarterback can get them the football. You never seen Jamar Chase throw Joe Burrow under the bus. You never seen Jamar Chase complain about his lack of involvement in the offense because Joe Burrow is actually an elite quarterback and not a forced top 5 quarterback, like how Eagles fans forced Jalen Hurts to be a top 5 quarterback. I felt Jalen Hurts was a top 5 quarterback at one point because of his consistency. Jalen Hurts, you knew at one point, was not going to lose you games. Well, now Jalen Hurts is losing the Eagles games, and he's making some of the best receivers on the roster frustrated. Not only has A.J. Brown been frustrated with the lack of production from the passing attack, but also Devontae Smith. So if your 2 top receivers are unhappy, that's an indictment on who? The quarterback. But Eagles fans don't want to be honest about Jalen Hurts because they have to try to defend him because he's their quarterback. And I understand that. Completely get it. You can do a lot worse than Jalen Hurts. But let's not act like Jalen Hurts isn't part of the problem. Eagles fans want to put all of the offensive struggles on Kevin Patullo because it's easy to blame a new offensive coordinator than it is to blame a Super Bowl MVP, a quote-unquote top 5 quarterback who got outplayed by Jackson Dart on Thursday night. Jackson Dart is already a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I saw Jackson Dart outplay Jalen Hurts, a Super Bowl MVP, throwing the randos at receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, LaJordan Humphrey. Meanwhile, on the opposite sideline, Jalen Hurts is overthrowing a wide-open Devontae Smith and throws a pick 6 when he had a wide-open A.J. Brown. And those 2 plays alone swung the game in the Giants' favor. So if Jackson Dart is outplaying Jalen Hurts with less talent, with a worse team around him, and Jalen Hurts is underperforming, getting outplayed by Jackson Dart, what does that say about Jalen Hurts? Yeah, Jalen Hurts is Super Bowl MVP, but that was last year. Super Bowl MVPs don't do anything for you right now. Ask A.J. Brown how he feels about Jalen Hurts Super Bowl MVP. I bet you he laughs. Because he doesn't look like a Super Bowl MVP right now. Doesn't look like a top 5 quarterback or even a top 10 quarterback at the moment. But yet, you still have Eagles fans that would still make excuses and still somehow try to justify Jalen Hurts as an elite quarterback. Try to justify that he's a top 3 quarterback. And of course, I'm going to go hard on Jalen Hurts because he effed that money up last week. He did, straight up. That loss was on Jalen Hurts. I don't care about the injuries. I don't care about who is out. I don't care about the defense underperforming. Because when you are a quote-unquote Super Bowl MVP and an elite quarterback, you're supposed to elevate your team. You should be able to overcome limitations. But we've been telling Eagles fans this for a while that Jalen Hurts doesn't have the ability to do that. He's a really good quarterback, not an elite quarterback, but apparently you're a hater for telling the truth about Jalen Hurts. You're not a hater for saying Jalen Hurts isn't a top 5 quarterback. You're just telling the truth that Eagles fans don't want to accept. Jackson Dart outplayed a Super Bowl MVP and a quote-unquote top 5 quarterback. I keep reemphasizing that point because I want Eagles fans to get this through their head. That your Super Bowl MVP, your top 5 quarterback, got outplayed by a rookie QB with randos at receiver. Now, Jalen Hurts isn't the sole reason why the Eagles are about to unravel this year because it's more issues than just him. Like, the play calling definitely is an issue. Kevin Patullo doesn't have a good game feel. He knows how the script plays up, but he doesn't know how to make adjustments. Either he's too reliant on the run or he's too overly reliant on the pass. He doesn't know how to play complementary football. And with the inconsistency from the offense, it has hindered Philadelphia defensively to where now Vic Fangio's defense has had a slight drop-off. They went from being 8th in the league in sacks to now 26th in sacks. The injury to Nolan Smith doesn't do them no favors, but they're not getting any production from any of the other edge rushers that they have on the team, and Vic Fangio doesn't blitz a lot. So if you can't get home with 4, then his defense gets put at a disadvantage. And the secondary hasn't been that good either. You still have Quinyon Mitchell, Quinyon Bay, and you do have Cooper DeJean, but the cornerback 2 that they have, whether that be Keely Ringo or Adoree Jackson, is not going to cut it. The Philadelphia Eagles should have kept Darius Slay. Darius Slay has been balling out for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Meanwhile, you're starting Adoree Jackson in the big 2025. I forgot all about Adoree Jackson. I forgot at one point he was one of the best players in college football. He was at one point one of the best young emerging corners in the NFL. And injuries have took a toll on Adoree Jackson, and that's why he now is far from the best version of himself. But if you're starting Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo, who is a safety disguised as a corner, yeah, you deserve to get cooked in the secondary. I was telling people for years that Kelee Ringo was a safety, and he never should have been playing corner. This dude got torched by Cedric Tillman a few years ago when Georgia played Tennessee. He doesn't have good agility. He doesn't have good lateral quickness. He's just a big, strong corner who can tackle very well, which means he's a safety. And I'm wondering when Vic Fangio is going to wisen up and move Kelee Ringo to safety, because that's where he is better suited with his skill set at. He just doesn't have the agility or the speed to keep up with these receivers playing corner. And every time I see Kelee Ringo on the field, he's getting cooked. Teams are running whoever offense on Kelee Ringo, like Vic Fangio. Do something about that. Hy Roseman, do something about that. The Eagles are not going to Super Bowl this year. This is deja vu from 2023 all over again for the Eagles. You whiffed on your offensive coordinator hire. Jalen Hurts has regressed because he's only as good as the guy calling the plays. Hence why he had his best years with Shane Steichen and Kellen Moore, because those guys are really good offensive coordinators. And you see what Jalen Hurts has been when he hasn't had a good offensive coordinator at the helm calling the plays. He's been average, or some may say even worse.